Welcome and welcome back. It's still another amazing day in paradise. My name is Momma Kai. That's spelled Momma space Kai. And I hope you will write my name as your preferred candidate for the next mayor of Raleigh in this 2024 election season. We are on our last bonus question from the PowerUp NC Candidates Forum that was held on Tuesday, October 15th. And you can find the recording on PowerUp NC's YouTube channel, just in case you want to see the full forum. It's about 2 hours long. Question 8. Public safety in certain areas like New Bern Avenue has been a concern for some residents. How do you view the city's role in addressing crime and safety in these neighborhoods? And what approaches would you consider for ensuring a safer community? Well, this kind of goes along with other things that I've said. If you haven't seen the other videos yet, or if you're just picking and choosing which questions you want answers to. But it's also a perfect conclusion. Things like this are done in community. I feel like the biggest needs of our community can be addressed in community, and that not through the government. And that's homelessness, that's the challenges with our youth, and that is supporting our elders and making sure that their generational wealth is protected. And so let me talk about this a little bit. Much of the crime and safety in these neighborhoods has to do with people panhandling, people just boldly and audaciously standing out in the street trying to get their needs met. Putting people in homes is the solution for eliminating homelessness. And that requires money. And the government, as far as I know, can't fundraise for that money. It's not legit. They have to either have to do an affordable housing bond, which means that homeowners, property owners get their taxes raised, or we could do it in community. They can start programs, which is great, but they're still looking for, they got to put out they have to do the research, put out the RFP, the request for proposal. Then they have to wait for organizations like Emma Sutton, who's the head of Housing and Neighborhoods, started talking about eliminating homelessness in January at the city council retreat. And here it is we're 10 months later, and even though in May, the city council approved her using some funds to initiate this pilot program called Bringing Our Neighbors Home. It's now October, and I don't think anybody's been housed yet. But as a community, we could raise a couple $1 million in a month, 2 months, 3 months, however long, depending on how many people want to become dedicated to this project. And we could house people tomorrow if we wanted to, right? Best case scenario. And so that's one of the things that is important, is addressing public safety. Number 2 is addressing crime, which in a lot of cases has to do with our youth. They're not engaged. They see they're not engaged. They have too much time on their hands. They're not, if they have homework, then it's either done or whatever. But we also have a lot of youth who are home without parents. And so there's no one around to kind of monitor their behavior or to engage with, like to create what's called a secure attachment with. And so they're just out doing whatever they want, whenever they want. So one of the ways that I suppose doing this is we don't have enough services for our youth. We don't have enough places for them to go that are things that they want to do. We have the Boys and Girls Club. That's great, and then we have the Boys Club and we have the Girls Club. All along that block around Glasscock and Raleigh Boulevard. And I've seen it in other places, like on New Hope Church, New Hope. Anyway, in that area, I've seen one. But the reality is, they go in there and they do the same old. Who knows if they're engaged in things that they really want to be engaged in, or if they're there because that's where their parents are putting them. And that's really not fair. I think one of the biggest issues that I have with people now that I'm a parent is people not realizing that my son is a person, that he is an autonomous being, which is one of my favorite words, autonomous or autonomy, that he is his own person. and that I am raising him to have a voice. I am recognizing that he is a sum of all his experiences, not just one single incident, and that everybody else is like that too. And so I try to my best to extend grace. And this is why it's important to have somebody who can lead as a mom, a matriarch, and a mayor with compassion and neuroscience, because they understand that all people have needs. And those needs are based on their experiences, and some of them can be seen and some of them can't. Some of them are evident and some of them aren't. When we keep putting people when we want to push them into a hole and they're a square peg and they don't fit, there's a reason. And it's because everybody is individual. Everybody has had experiences that have altered them in some sort of way. And if people aren't in a space to feel safe so they can heal from those experiences, then those experiences come out, that their desire to protect themselves come out in different ways. And so when you have somebody who has the audacity to stand in the street and try to stop your car to ask for money, it's because they're desperate to have their need met, whatever that need is. And it's not up to us to judge what that need is, because it's based on their experiences and we don't know what they are. And so if we want to see change in our community, especially with our youth, and then one of the things is we have to start with making sure that their early childhood education experience is beautiful and sacred and protected and privileged, like privileged in the way that Dr. Bruce Perry talks about. And I talk about this a little bit in another video, and that makes sure that their experiences with trauma are minimized, that they're not intentional experiences of trauma. And I say that realizing that most people don't understand that hitting a child is an intentional trauma that is being inflicted. It's unintentional because people don't understand the repercussions, but it is intentional that when you hit that child, you mean to hit them. And so how that child reacts or responds is based on their age and their development and the other things that they've known or learned. And so when you have an adult who's fighting, it's because they've been hit. And you have to actually train a child not to hit, because it is natural for them to want to hit because they don't feel safe or their need isn't being met, and it's their way of protecting themselves. It's intrinsic to our nature. And so many people don't realize this. So when you have a child that hits, the worst thing you can do is hit them back. And then if you keep hitting them and tell them that they don't have any emotions, they're not allowed to cry, that they need to stop. Children learn by imitation first, and information sometimes, and instruction sometimes. It depends on the state of their brain and if they're in a state of regulation, whether they can hear or whether they can understand what you're saying. And so, I'm saying some things that are deep for people, and people are going to automatically shun, or they're going to feel some kind of way about it. But this is the importance of information and education, and having somebody who's a leader who's not afraid to dispense it. And so with our youth, the way that I see helping to change, they have something that's coming up for the youth. It's called We Hear Youth. The YOU part is capitalized. That's coming up on November 2nd. And but in the meantime, something I see that can be done in community is simply bringing kids together, bringing our youth together from the ages of 8 to 18. And saying, what do you want to see? What does this city not have in your neighborhood? What does the city not have? It could be in your neighborhood. It could be somewhere in the city. What don't we have here that you would like? Cary has the Esports Academy. They also had the Forge, which is so cool. Were both at Big Ideas Raleigh. And just having something like that in places around the city would be so awesome. But, what kind of, are you interested in sports? Are you interested in real estate? Casey Morcell, sorry if I got that wrong. He played for NC State, graduated, was part of that Final Four run that our PAC did last year. Forgive me. Anyway, do you know that he took his NIL money, which stands for name, image, and likeness. He took his NIL money and he invested in real estate. And his quote was, he has earned enough so that he doesn't have to go into the NBA. Okay. So maybe we need to teach our youth about things that they can do, money, or places where they can invest their money, so that they can have a better future than they feel like they might currently have, because nobody's teaching them about these things. And so I have this vision of thousands of youth coming together, kind of exploring their passions, looking at different things, whether it's sports oriented, whether it is real estate, whether it's construction, or in any aspect of construction, plumbing, welding, carpentry and stuff like that. Whether it's a business, whether it's hair or nails or, beauty or anything like that, and saying, what kind of business do you see that the youth can create? We have all these empty storefronts. Let's get our youth to create the businesses that go in there, because then they'll go to those places. They'll patronize each other's businesses. Families will go there. Excuse me, is it a recording studio? Do we need a place for a podcast? Do we need a film? Do we need a place that people can film, and edit videos and create movies, authentically? Not trying to throw any shade at AI, but I'm just saying authentically, And so we can do these things in community. This is not anything the government can do without it taking a whole lot of time and a whole lot of taxpayers' dollars. We can come up with the money and we can make these things happen. And maybe the way the government gets involved, well, the way that I want to use my position as mayor to get involved is simply to use my influence to say, hey, the mayor's inviting you to this event that she's hosting. Come on down. We're going to head out down to the convention center, and the mayor's going to hold this great event, and then we're going to put it out to the community to let it take off. And then from the youth, I then see the parents getting involved in projects, and it may not be the same projects that their kids are interested in, because you know what? When I was a kid, they didn't have things like this. And so while Wisdom might want to do something that has to do with cars, I might want to have something to do with being a seamstress. And so I'm going to help a totally different child or a totally different team of youth find their passion. And then we get to go home and Wisdom gets to tell me about his car experience. And I get to tell him about my sewing experience or my design experience, I just see this being so cool. And then on top of parents, we add grandparents and other family members, aunties, uncles. Oh, wait, I don't want to forget that we add our young adults, which I suggest is between 18 and 30. They could be single or married with a young family, but they have ideas too. We are just going to take this. We're going to be communal and we're going to build. We're going to build together. Then again, we're going to add our elders. We'll add businessmen. And this is where our businessmen come in, our investors, commercial property owners who have properties that need to be filled, who have spaces that they want to fill. And we start putting these places together. And this is what I call the Love Life Cooperative. When we start building these businesses, now this is not something that's going to be done in a year. It's not going to be done in 2 years. It takes time. But getting these things done, oh my goodness, a homeschool space, that would be my dream. A share care center, which is where moms can drop their children off for a couple of hours. And then on another day, they're going to come with their children and they are going to watch somebody else's children, and we all share and be communal about how our children are taken care of, and that it's a very conscious and intentional and loving atmosphere with secure attachments and healthy brain development and nervous system regulation. Oh my gosh, my dream. That we spend a lot of time outside playing and being in the woods and touching grass and eating bugs. No, I'm just kidding. More along the lines of eating dirt, but it's all, the diversity of the microbiome. Anyway, I just see us having such a much better world when we come together as community. And if we can stop being upset about people coming in and doing things that we don't like, and that maybe we can look at things from a different perspective and say, I don't like it, but things are changing. So how can I get involved in things changing the way I want it to change, instead of just being a victim of the change? Instead of just being affected by the change. That's the perspective I'm taking. And especially as an unhoused mom, that's important to me. I want to see the last years of our elders' lives. And something, with the way things are going with health and everything like that, our elders are lasting longer and longer. You know, I might call them my elders now, but somebody who's 70 now may still live another 20, 30, 40, 50 years, perhaps to 120. It's not unheard of. And so while they're my elders because they're older than me, that doesn't knock them out of the park. There's still some brilliance and some genius and some life experience that I want to tap into, you know? And so we get in there, I was just talking to somebody about this last night. Shout out to Dr. K. But we need to have more intergenerational conversations. This time of life, in this year, in this moment of time, we have more people from more generations than at any other point in history. In my Citizens Leadership Academy, we were just talking about this last week, and we were naming off the generations. And I think there's 6, 7 generations maybe 8 living all at the same time right now. It was insane to have these conversations and talk about like the things that we experienced and all this other stuff. Is so cool, you know, and just to hear like, wow, yeah, that was the highlight of your youth, you know. Oh, wow, music for me, you know, movies for me, these experiences, like, but I could learn so much from that person who was older and those people who are younger. And it's so, so powerful. And I mean, the reality is that I'm a different leader. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again. If you've seen my video, I'm one of the top 10 reasons that you should vote for me is because people don't like me and I'm okay with it. Is because I can't please everybody, and I'm not going to try. And a lot of times whatever is happening is in part because of how their nervous system is reacting to me instead of responding to me. And especially with technology being the way it is, where people sending text messages instead of getting into conversations and not wanting to talk things out, then I want to lead the way of changing that. Like that we need to communicate with one another, that we need to be in harmony, that we need to be in community with one another, and that it is possible. And it can be good. And it could be multicultural. Our city is multicultural. I'm not going to say it could be multicultural. It is. We live in a multicultural community. And so, yeah, this last question is just sitting on my spirit as this is not a government responsibility, but we can initiate it. And the one way that I feel that we can initiate it is by making sure that when people move in, they feel welcome in the city. And that we do have our CECs reestablished so that they can know, okay, this apartment building is opening. That soon as that door looks like it's opening, that somebody from the CAC is walking over to that apartment complex and saying, hey, this is some information about our local CAC, which is a community advisory council. We do events and we want your people involved. And please let us make sure that your tenants get this. And this could be something that cards that the city prints out. I also feel like the city needs to print out cards that say, welcome to the city of Raleigh. This is your mayor. This is your city council. You live in district such and such. This is who you would contact and how you would contact them. These are the city services. Here's where you sign up for email alerts about anything you might be passionate or interested in getting involved in. And for some people that might resonate and they'd be like, oh, wow, that's so cool. I want to be involved in government. And for some people are like, oh, I hate government. But it might give them a different look at government when they say, wow, these people care about me. Like they put this information out here. I personally think that it would be awesome if we put together swag bags and real estate agents came in and bought those swag bags to give to their clients when they moved into a new house. We have some awesome City of Raleigh swag. I got lanyards. Did I tell you about the toilet squishy? Somewhere on this video, I have a toilet squishy. It's in the car right now. Wisdom has a house squishy. I have a water droplet squishy. We have some cool stuff like water bottles, several different types of water bottles, actually. Notebooks, bags, oh my gosh, t-shirts, holy y'all, like amazing. Anyway, this has been longer than I anticipated, but this was worth taking the time to answer. And so I'm grateful that you took the time to listen. Thank you so much. And I hope anything I'm saying has resonated with you. If I've said something that triggered you or made you mad or angry, I would just invite you to look at the reason why, like go back in your head and say, why did that upset me? Why did that make me mad? What is she saying? Am I guilty of that? Is that something I've done? Did I not know? And give yourself some grace and also extend me some grace, please. I'd appreciate it. It's kind of challenging to be in the position I'm in and be honest and open. but I'm going to do it because it's worth it. So I hope you will write my name in as your preferred candidate for the next mayor of Raleigh in this 2024 election season. Thank you.